Welcome to the fastest daf in town. Today on Masech the Shavuot daf Yud Zayin. We're going to begin on the very bottom of Tes Zayin and Beis, the second line from the bottom. So we were learning that if a person became Tameh in the Azara and the Mikdash, and he ends up staying there, Kedei Hishtachava, the amount of time to bow down, or he actually does bow down, or when he finds out that he's tummy, he goes out the longer route to get out, then he's going to be chayav to bring a carbon over Yored. If he went derech Katsari's pot. So on this boy Rava, we have a series of questions. Sar Shehil Malkus or in Sar Shehil Malkus? Is it necessary in order to get Malkus also that you have to be there for an extended period of time? Says Rashi, Im Histrubo Shulamoid, that you got a warning that you shouldn't stay there while tamei, va'amoid pachas mechdei, and you stayed, but it was for the shorter dimension of short amount of time. Are you going to be chay malchus? Now, the carbon gemiri shehia, we learned the halach Moshe Messina. Maybe it's dafka to be chay of a carbon. You need to be there for a certain amount of time. Well, malchus lo gemiri shehia, but because there's no halach Moshe Messina regarding malchus, maybe even if it's less than that amount of time. As we continue Yud Zayin with Dilma Bifnim Gemiri Shehira. When it comes to Bifnim, when a person becomes tummy inside, that's what we were learning about in the Azara. Loshno Lakar, Loshno Malkus Teku. So maybe it doesn't make any difference. Even when it comes to Malkus, you're only going to get Malkus if you're there for that amount of time. Boy Rabba. Tol Atzmo Ba'avir Azar Mahu. Now exactly how does this happen? Person suspending himself in mid-air and he's there Kedei Shehia. Let's say he's held up by something or something along those lines, and he's physically not on the ground. So ki gemiri shehia debas ishtachava dolabas ishtachava lo gemiri yoldilma b'fnim shehia gemira loshna debas ishtachava loshna dolabas ishtachava teku. So maybe again, when it comes to this time frame, it's only someone who is able to bow down. And to bow down, you have to actually be on the ground. So maybe this person is not going to be chayev, or maybe we say, no, it doesn't make any difference. He's inside the Azar, so regardless, he'll be chayev. Okay. Again, what exactly does that mean? So if you look in Taisus, Nisfarim, the Girsi, Avir Azar Kazaradami, Olo. That's basically perhaps the question. What is the status of the airspace of the Azara itself? Okay. Ayin Taisus. So boy Ravashi. Now Ravashi asks another question. Timi Atzmo b'mezin ma. Let's say a person becomes tameh on purpose. So what's the din? Now we know that we talked about a situation, says Rashi. This is an imtim saloimer, that it's based on what we said before. If you hold Sar Shehia Lo Malkus, that Taki you need Shehia to get Malkus. So, but Tumas Oinis Vishias Mazid, Tumas Mazid Mi Boy Shehia Lo. So the question is, if it's on purpose, do you get Malkus? But Oinis Gemir Shehia, maybe the whole din is that you became Tommy but Oinis, but Mazid Lo Gemir Shehia O Dilma, again, Bifnim Gemir Shehia Lo Shna Ba Oinis Lo Shna Ba Mazid Teku. So again, that's another question. In fact, this is question 12. It says, Hanitma b'mikdash be'ez oifin yesh sad b'gemara shelo nischayv kares afil b'shehiyah. So one is if you're basically tol atzma ba'avir. Ve'ez oifin yesh sad b'gemara dechayev if you're below shehiyah umasik b'teku. If let's say you're matama b'mezid, there maybe you're chayev even below shah. Boy Ravashi, Nozer bekever. Boy Shehil Malchus o Enosar. Let's look at Rashi. What does that mean? How'd you just automatically become Tameh while you're already in a basic forest? The second you step foot into the basic forest, you're Tameh. So Rashi says, Nozer Shnitba ba'oinis b'toich basic forest. He was in the cemetery. Dumedin nitba ba'azara shul nischayev bechnisasai. It's comparable that he wasn't chayev when he entered. So So let's say you were put in a box. You entered into the cemetery in a box, and therefore you are not susceptible to the dinim of Tumah. Es mazevas gaga oil, and then someone opened up the roof. V'nitba ba'aver basic varis, and then all of a sudden you become tamei. V'hisrubo, and then they warn, they say, "Tsei, get out." V'lo yatsi, didn't leave. Umiu lo shah kedei hishtachava. However, he didn't leave kedei hishtachava. So what's the din in that case? Shehiyah b'l malchus o ein sarach. Bifnim gemiri shehiyah b'chutz lo gemiri shehiyah. It's only bifnim and not b'chutz, and therefore maybe you don't get it. It says Rashi b'tumas azara d'shayich ba hishtachava. It's only the time of delaying is definitely when it talks about bowing down or kedei hishtachava, which has to do with in the azara where we bow down. Obviously not in a cemetery. O dilma b'oinis gemiri shehiyah. So maybe again, it doesn't make a difference even b'chutz you should be chayiv. Bolo barucha chayiv b'katzara pata v'chulu. So we said that if a person takes the longer route, you're going to be chayiv to bring a karm to Ovi. However, if you went the fastest route, you're going to be potter. Amurava katzar she'amra feel ekev b'tzad goydol. Even if, let's say, you're taking like baby steps, you put your ankle to your foot, which means you're just like literally walking super slow. They feel kohoyam kulo. As long as you continue to move. So we see it's not about how fast you go, but it's the shortest route. So boy Rav, if that's true, shehiyas mahu. Let's say he paused between those steps. What's the din? Do we say shitzrafu that they all combined? So the tibshutlei. So we say v'tipshalei mididei. So why don't we just learn out from it itself that it's not mistarf? It says Rashi the ha'ihu hu di'omer fil kol yom kulo. He said you have the whole day. So Rashi says no hasam b'duloi shah. Just if he went, he's a slow walker, he never stopped. Then we say that, and he never stopped. That's when we say he's potter. However, let's say he did make tiny little stops, but each one is not kedei hishtachava, is that mistarf? That we don't know. So bo minei abai miraba, bolo barucha. Let's say he went the longer route, which may take double the amount of time, but he happens to be a super fast runner. Shir katsarma. Let's say he sprinted and he got out, even though he took the longer route, just as fast as the slow guy took the shorter route. So what do we say? Shir gemiri, is it mentioned the measurements? L'chibolo barucho shir katsara potter. Since he went a shorter amount of time, shir is like amount of time. So since he took the same amount of time as the shorter route, he's potter. O dilma dafke gemiri barucha chayv katsara potter. You say no. The fact that you took the longer route, you're chayv no matter what, even if you ran. Armulei lo nasna rucha l'hadchis etzloi. So more answers, and let's look at Rashi. We're not going, Rucha is not given lahater v'afilu b'merutza. Even if you ran, that's not going to be helpful. You're still going to be chayiv. Okay. Maskevul Rav Zera. Ella the Kaimalon, we paskin in Masechta Sanhedrin, Perik Elohen and Asrafin, a kohen sheshimish b'misa. If you have a kohen who is tamei, that serves in the Azara, he's chayim misa b'nei shemayim. No hechem shkachasla. How do we find that there's no din kares in this person who did this? So he said like this: Idul shah hechi abed avoda. So understand, if he did avoda, how is it possible to lose in kedei shah? It says Rashi de'i benitma b'chutz. Let's say he became tamei outside, benichnas, and he entered. He becomes chayiv kares immediately when he enters. So it must be that he became tamei there. So if he became tamei there, so we said it's only if he's there kedei shah, the amount of time to delay. Now I don't understand. So how is it possible if he didn't have enough time to even do enough time to bow? Then he didn't do one. There's no way he could be chayiv misa for doing an avoda. So Eid the Shah, if let's say he was there long enough to do avoda, bar karesu, then he should be chayiv kares and not misa b'nei shemayim. Kares is worse. So Iyam Rabbi Shalom is shira gemiri, that it's all totally on, let's say, how like a minute, you have a minute to get out. then therefore if you take the longer route, we go faster, it's also good. So the mishkacha, so the onas nafshe b'kitzar b'avad avoda. It's possible that this could have happened. He could have done the avoda, and he could have sprinted out, says Rashi. Shia b'lo chiyav kares. That maybe he's only going to be chayim misa b'nishamayim, says Rashi, b'marutza ad shelo shashir akvasoy. That he ran quickly, v'yatzis katsar b'hiloch beinani. So since he was able to get out in the way that a normal person can get out, so he's not going to be chayim kares, but he'll still be chayim misa b'nishamayim because he did an avoda. But then again, that is a question to what we said before, that the person who did this would be chayiv kares. Because Ela Iyamar, as we continue to Yuzan Rabbeis, Davke Gemiri, Hechem Shkachasla. How do we find a possible situation that a person can be chayiv b'nishamayim for doing the avoda, but also he's not going to be chayiv kares, but you're chayiv kares when you go kedei avoda, kedei shah. And you want to say, well, so how do you understand this? So it must be a raya that taka you are going to be potter if you go the long way, but you go fast. Maybe that's why that you're not going to be chayiv kares. So remember, my kushim mishkachas chagayin sheba b'katzara. Maybe he went the fast way. Vavech b'tzinayra, and all he did was he grabbed a piece of meat with a fork quickly and he turned it around. So he did an avoda in the process of leaving quickly. So therefore, he wasn't there enough to be able to be chayiv kares, but he still did an avoda to be chayiv misa b'nishamayim. As we find, Rav Huna zar non kohen shehavach b'tzinayra chayiv misa. So this is considered to be an avoda. Okay, so that's the din. Gufa on Rav Huna zar shehavach b'tzinayra chayiv misa. So that we already established. Now hechidami, what exactly is this case of flipping the meat? Idolo hafach lo ma'achle. Let's say if he didn't do it, it basically wouldn't be proper. So pshita, then obviously he's going to be chayiv because he accomplished something. So my ka'avid, if he didn't turn it, it would still be edible, it would still be fine. So he didn't accomplish anything anyway, so he should be chayiv. So tzricha the ilu hafach ba me'achle betarti shoy v'hashtem achle b'chad shaita. So the truth is, it could have been proper. However, instead of taking 2 hours, he was able to speed up the process and be ready in an hour. Being able to do something and causing the avodah to go quicker, that also constitutes as having done the avodah. I wanted to say something. However, I was concerned of my friends. That when it comes to a person who goes into a house of saras, but he walks backwards, he doesn't walk forward, so his nose goes in last. But feel kulo, even his whole body is in chutz b'choitmo, but his nose never made it because it protrudes out from his body a little bit, some more than others. Tahar. So that person is going to be tahar because he didn't enter. It's only when you go in the normal way are you considered to be tameh. I was worried. Understand, if you go in your whole body, you should be tahar as well. The pasuk says you have to only tell me when you go in forward, which is much when you go backwards, you're always tahar, even if you got your nose in there too. So the reason why that's not such a great question, if I can say it that way, is because it doesn't make any difference. Because once you're in, you're in. Just like a kli that's in that house. They say, anything in the house is tameh. And therefore, so too, if you went in there, even if you went backwards, but you went completely in, then you'll be tameh. But the fact that your nose didn't make it, you're saved by a nose. So therefore, because of that, you remain tahar. Ma'ashein came the other way around, which of course your nose goes in first, but then you'll be tahar. Tani mihachi, gagan halolu, these roofs in the Azara, ein oichlin sham kashi kadashim. You're not allowed to eat the kashi kadashim there, says Rashi, hanechalim lifnim in a kalayim. Let's say you're inside the curtain, The Ksavar Gagin ve'eliyos luniskadshu. They're not considered to be sanctified. El haritzba, it's the floor. Va'avir ad hagag, and the air until the roof. But you can't eat on the roof. Ve'en sheichten sham kadashim kalim, and you can't even shecht kadashim kalim there. V'tamish shenichnas derech gagin l'heichel potter. And if, let's say, you have someone who's tameh who jumped from roof to roof, kind of like Spider-Man, and he goes into the heichel, he's also going to be potter. Shnemar bel hamikdash shel yavo derech bia asra Torah. So it's only in the normal fashion of going in, and that is it. That is the only way you can go. Okay, let's see if there's another question over here. Question TA11. And nichna lebeis hamnaiga derech hacharav hamnitma umadua. So, if you're complete, let's see what it writes. Im nishar miyute b'chutz, even your nose, your potter. It says v'habol al habayis derech bia asur Torah im kuloi b'fnim nitma dulgar mekelim shebabayis. It's a pretty easy question. TA11. That is a pretty easy question, which those are always good. So hanichnas lebeis hamnaiga derech hacharav afil kul chutz mechoitmo is tahar, because it says el habayis derech bia asur Torah. However, when it comes to all of you, loigar mekelim shebabayis. Okay. Question TB 17. Masvar chalik ben shvur shel oichel afar l'shvur shel oichel chartzan le'inin shiura. Am I not reading the right question here? Yeah, I think I stapled everything up backwards. That's an unfortunate thing. Okay. Okay. Question 12. Okay, I stapled it backwards. TB 12. Be'ez oivin kamash malon Rav Huna dezar shibach b'tzinor chayev. So what exactly is that teaching us? This is also Yud Zayin Mebez. This is TB 12. So this is Keruvi Avoida Avoidahi. That Hai do Hafa. So what do we say? Let's find it. L'tzricha de'iloi hafach bahu ma'achli betarti shoy v'ash v'sacha b'chad shaita. So let's see what I wrote. Im below hafacha yochol hashlam b'shtei shoys. V'ashav zed gomer hasha'achas v'shul zeh hu mekarves avoidol yoyis kamar v'chayev. Okay. Pshita im beloy havcha l'gamar k'shuoy samais and gamar v'chayev v'chushoy. Okay. So that's the answer to that. What did I put over here? Madu Rebbe Lezer Kishoy Boyne B'Mikdash Shoy Oisim Kilayim. That was again on the previous daf, which was either because which is the same question as TA 10. So let me mark that down here. TB 11. That was either because Kitcher Shaita V'loy Lasad Lavoi, or because of Sneus. It's Tes Zayin Moment Aleph. Okay. All right, let's venture into the next piece. So, Zuhi mitzvahs aseh shemimikdash she'en chayavan aleha, etc. So let's see what does the Mishnah say regarding that. So it says as follows. So again, going in this way, this is a mitzvah aseh in the mikdash that you're not chayav on it. She'en chayavan aleha, that you're not chayav on it. Rashi says over there, if Beis Din erroneously says something and gives an incorrect psak, then there's normally a par, or the Kohen Mashiach will have to bring his carbon. So when it comes to this situation of this mitzvah saseh, of entering into the mikdash tameh, then leaving, and etc., that is a situation where you are not going to be chayiv. However, there's a mitzvah saseh by nida that you are chayiv if a person is having relations and she's tahara, and then she says she became tameh mamish b'shas tashmish, and then he's pirish miyad, he's still chayiv siyasei hana loy kabiyasei, which maybe we'll get to. Okay. So Zui mitzvah saseh shebemikdash she'ein chayav and have chul. So heicha koi our Tana, where is he going to cover Zuhi? That this is like what's he referring to? So what's he talking on? So Hasam koi, he's going on the following. It says like this: Ein chayav and al aseh v'al loisaseh shebemikdash. When it comes to the Beis Din, says Rashi b'hoirasam, when they give a psak al aseh v'al loisaseh shebemikdash, koimer al hoiras tumas mikdash kadashav. They make some type of psak regarding a person who's tamei, entering in, is he chayiv, is not chayiv. Ben shehu shel aseh, whether it's an aseh, for example, shenitma ba'azara, as we said, you enter into the azara, so it's an aseh, you got to get out, right? V'yishulchu, you have to leave. Ben shehu lois aseh kikon v'nitma b'chutz, they are telling me outside, and the azara don't go in, right? So if they make it either way, the ein chayavin mishum the ein mavin par b'hara, they don't bring a par. El al halam davar shel tzibor is only shigagasu chatas kavua. It's only in a situation where if there's a shaygig, you'd have to bring a chatas kavua, which is not for a yachid. A yachid here brings an oil v'yarid, which is not a chatas kavua. It's not the same. It depends on your financial status. So a par helam davar shel tzibor, if the Beis Din incorrectly paskins, they normally would bring a carbon, but not if it was in this situation was the carbon over yared. So that's what it's talking about. Ve'in mavi'in asham toli al aseh v'al lois aseh shebamikdash. Also comes to an asham toli, says Rashi. Hayechidim shabol yodam savikares. If let's say there's a savikares of again chelev or shuman, v'hitzrich and a kosa of asham toli, and therefore he would have to bring an asham toli. Ein mavi'in oisu al savik tumas mikdash. He doesn't bring it regarding savik tumas mikdash. V'yisheinu ba el al savik davar sheshagig vade chatas kavua. And as he said, it's only in a situation where it's a chatas kavua, but over here it's oiv yared. So therefore, you would not bring an asham toli on mikdash kadasha. As we said, because by nida, there is a carbon kavua that's brought on a chatas kavua. She says Rashi Shumusu Latseis. Also, just like you had to leave if you became tamei in the mikdash, you got to leave. That's a mitzvah say. So if she became tamei while you're in the midst of tashmish, you have to physically leave. Which is what the Mishnah said. Same thing. That is when you're not chayev. When it comes to Tumas Mikdash Kadasham, so what are the cases by Nidi or Chayiv? Person's having bia with his wife, but Tahira, V'yamerlo, and she says to him, Nitmesi, I became Tameh. Upirish Miyad Chayiv. So if he's Pirish, immediately, it's still Chayiv. As we said, because leaving there's an element of hana in both movements. Itmar Abaya Oyemer Mishmei Rav Chia Barav Chayiv Shtayim. He's actually Chayiv 2, says Rashi. Haparish min hanida b'kishui, while he is still erect. V'chein Omer Rav Oyemer Rav Shmuel Bar Shaba Omer Rav Huna Chayiv Shtayim. Chada Achnisa v'chada Prisha. One on the entering and one on leaving. So Havi Ba Rabba, B'mai, what are we talking about? Ilim Asamach Lavesta. When was this happening? When she was a vest, which she normally does see, even though she didn't see, but there's a chance today's the time, this is the time. Shenu Oinis Al Chanisasai. So therefore, he's really not so innocent, even initiating Tashmish. Dahavili Lasukia Daite, he should have thought, Shematira B'Shas Tashmish. She would come in need of mamish during Tashmish. Umiu Meizel Havi. He's not amazing because she wasn't in need at the time. So Uvaman. Ilim Abatam Chacham. No Bishlam Achanisa Lachayev. I can understand he's Chayev Achanisa. Savar Yachleni Luboyel. I'll be able to be boil, says Rashi. Shiyodea Shibi Mishamish Ima Tahara. he knows how to be mishamish while she's tahara. The amru nitmesi tzarcha hamdin ad shiyomos aver. So if the aver is still erect, so then you're going to be chayiv if you take out the aver at that time. However, if you would wait inside of her while your aver becomes mace, so then you're not going to be chayiv. So a Talmid Chacham who knows all these dinim, maybe we're not going to be chayiv on the prisha. Ela prisha ma'il chayiv mezidhu. If he already knows these laws and he didn't wait, so then he's considered to be mazid. So he shouldn't be chayiv a carbon, which is only when you do a b'shayging. As we continue, Chesman Alf. V'iba Am Haaretz, Idi, when it comes to Am Haaretz, he's going to be shayging on everything. So, it's comparable to eating two zaysim of chelim at the same time. He didn't know between each of them, so he's only going to be chayiv one. So it says Rashi, he doesn't know anything about not having tashmish b'shas oinis. K'saver oinis ani olam an oinis. Shari lo lomad shemus harni so lifrashmin nishaysem samach avestan. He doesn't know the dinim that when your wife is samach avestan you shouldn't have tashmish, and he also doesn't understand the dinim between a kushi aver or a mace. So therefore he's b'shaygig either way. So he should be you would think, well, he should be chayiv shtayim, but since it's behel mechad, he's only chayiv one. The ella b'shein samach avesta must be he wasn't samach avest, and therefore umaman ilam etam l'chacham v'lo chad lo mechayiv. He's not chayiv at all. Achnisa oinus, it's not his fault, and she becomes a need. Okay, he wasn't expecting it because it wasn't samach avesta. Uprisha, and it was on the if he waited while he was a mace, he's potter completely. If he pull out immediately while it was a kushi aver, so then he's amazed he'd be potter then too. He wouldn't be able to bring a carbon. Because again, Amaretz doesn't know anything, but he'd only be chayiv one. He's obviously not chayiv on the first part because it wasn't samach avesta. So hadam ravel oyim was samach avesta v'tamid chacham. So the question is, if it was samach avesta, and we're talking about the Talmid Chacham was zu, and Talmid Chacham was zu. You may be a partial Talmid Chacham. So, what does that mean? Says Rashi. So therefore, he was wrong in his Kenisa. So therefore, because of that, that's where his mistake was. That's where he he knew, and therefore he was mazed. But he doesn't know shemashamish im hatahira v'amra nitmesi sarch lifrosh be'ever mace. That much he didn't know. Davli shaygig al shtan. So actually he's a shaygig on both. So he's a shaygig in the first because it wasn't an oinus because of some chavestin. He wasn't mazed because she's not actually needy yet. So therefore he's a shaygig in that. He's also a shaygig when he finished having tashmish. He didn't wait until the aver was mace. Achnisa, the ksavar, yachleni leboil, v'afrisha oimer mutter. And he thought it's okay. The shnei zeisichel behelm echad lo havi. So l'chayra it's behelm echad, so he should be chayiv only one. So no, shari Talmid Chacham who l'zum, he's a Talmid Chacham regarding one. Shlo hayel lo leboil samach avesta. The ein ze oinus el shaygig. He's considered to be a shaygig. So okay. The chi amrlo nitmesi yada shachata chanisa v'havi lo yedia ben kanisa prisha. So it's considered to be a yedia in between. The im times are mazid who bilas samach avesta. Maybe that's bemazid. Why is that shaygig? Ein zukasha she'ein karis v'chiv chatas al samach avesta. You're not chayiv karis if you have tashmish samach avesta. If she is not a nida. Ad shetitma ubilas hatuma. So therefore the point is that he's not bemazed because she wasn't actually a need at the time. Okay, we're going to stop there. Let's look at question 13. Question 13. Ein chayavin alasei ve'alois asei shemitash ein mavin asham tali alasei ve'alois asei shemitash al min nemar she'ein chayavin V'she'ein mavin carbon al tumas mikdash. So ein base in the chayavin par al harasam betumas mikdash. Then hayichidim mavin asham toli al sveikin betumas mikdash. Because it's only when it comes to chatas kabul and not by this, which is a oil yair. TA 12. Mal loindim b'haskimus lahavdo in kaddish ben achoyel lahavdo ben atame ben atar v'samach like asham ki sazriya. That we definitely didn't do. And question 13, same thing, Ad Khan.